Welcome to the Adriana Talks Dinero podcast, where we turn money lessons into tools for healing, confidence, and prosperity in our community. I'm Adriana, your bilingual money coach, educator, entrepreneur, and proud author. Here we honor our raíces and ancestors while building wealth for future generations. Each episode, I'll share practical tips, building strategies, and real talk to help you take control of your dinero. Step into abundance and go from surviving to thriving. Let's talk dinero. So, I am trying something new. So, I put a call out on my newsletter. And if you are not on my newsletter, make sure that you go ahead and go in the show notes to go ahead and sign up for my newsletter. And that's where you hear all of the hot news. You get first dibs on courses. You get scholarship information and grant information for small businesses. I take you through like my wedding planning. So make sure you don't miss out. But I went ahead and I put a call out for any sort of questions that my audience has when it comes to money. So this one is submitted by Vida de Dimante, and she asks about investing. So she wants to know, what are the risks? Are the returns worth it? Should she be using investing apps like Robinhood or SoFi Investing? And like, if even with like as little as $100, is it worth it? So let's go ahead and answer her questions. First of all, yes, it is worth it. I think for like as little as $5 a month, it is absolutely worth it. So I hear a lot of times from people, Adriana, I only have a little bit of money. So what's the point? Like, I'm not going to make a lot of money. I totally get it. I really do. But even if $100 doesn't feel like enough, or if $5 doesn't feel like enough, it is. Here's what people miss. It's not really about the dollar amount. It's about building the habit. So you have to go ahead and start building the habit of taking money out of your paycheck to go ahead and put it into an investing account. So here's a real example. If you go ahead and invest $100 today in a index fund, you will historically have returns of about 7 to 10% annually. So if you were to never add another dollar, you could go ahead and build that money up, and you will have anywhere between $760 to $1,745 over 30 years. Now imagine if you do that multiple times. Imagine if you put in $100 every month and what that can grow into. Or if you put in $100 a week and what that can grow into. So you have to go ahead and really understand the magic of compound interest and how that snowballs all after time. And not only compound interest, which compound interest is essentially the interest that you gain from money that you put in, and also the money that you gain on top of that. So it's like literally just a snowball that happens over time. And also the dividends. So a dividend is basically kind of like a reward payment of money that you get from investing into a stock or into an index fund or anything that you put your money invested towards. If that company does really good, they actually give you money back, and that money you can choose to keep, which I don't recommend. You should reinvest it right away, but you don't have to put it back into that company or that index fund. You can actually choose to put it somewhere else. So it's basically like an allowance for doing really good. So you don't have to wait until you have enough money to invest. The best time is to start as early as possible, even if it is $5, $100, what have you. So let's go ahead and talk about where you should invest this money. So after listening to this, you're like, okay, Adriana, I want to go ahead and start. Cool. She mentioned in her question, should she do like Robinhood or SoFi? I haven't done that much more research on SoFi, to be honest. I was actually just in Oaxaca recently, and on a billboard, I actually saw the advertisement for SoFi investing. And I'm like, oh, I have to look into this because I'm a little curious. But I actually recommend to go ahead and go with an investing platform um, that has been around for longer, and also that's a little bit more protected, just because I don't know much about SoFi, but absolutely this goes for Robinhood. I would go with like Vanguard, Charles Schwab, or I personally use Fidelity. Never had an issue with Fidelity. And go ahead and open up your investing accounts there. You can do an investing account like a Roth IRA that will go ahead and grow tax free. You can do a brokerage account. And honestly, if you're already contributing to a 401k or a 403b, you're already investing. So congratulations, you're already an investor without you even knowing it. So I would actually recommend one of those brokerage platforms over a Robinhood or a SoFi. And especially kind of like honing in with Robinhood, I think that's like a good tool to go ahead and use if you're just getting used to the idea of investing. But I wouldn't really recommend it. I have heard horror stories of like having trouble getting money out of the Robinhood, or they charge you a lot of fees in order to get the money out of the Robinhood app. So, not really my first go to, honestly. I would rather have anybody go with like a Vanguard, Charles Schwab, or a Fidelity. And go ahead, invest your money, and you can go ahead and put it on automatic investments. And you can actually put like your direct deposit towards that as well. That's actually what I do for my 9 to 5. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go ahead and go through that. If you don't know too much about investing, you can always contact me and see if we want to go ahead and work one-on-one together. Or also, there are a few times throughout the year that I actually do my Investing with Impacto coursework, which is 2 weeks long, and then you get a free one-on-one session with me to go ahead and learn how to invest, which I will go ahead and put in the show notes for you as well. So, essentially for these, like, yes, you can go ahead and choose your investing platform. I would go ahead and go more with your other platforms over Robinhood or over Acorns, just because of the fees that are associated with it and things like that. So I do want to go ahead and talk about the risk. And this is like the part that nobody really wants to talk about. A lot of people are a lot of people are usually scared to go ahead and go into the stock market because they always hear that people lose money, especially if you're someone like me. I was actually coming into my adulthood during the Great Recession, and a lot of people actually lost a lot of money during the Great Recession. The S&P 500 actually dropped about 19 points, or 19% in 2008, which was, um, or actually that happened back during the pandemic. It was about 19%. And then if you go ahead and you look in 2008 during the recession, that was the financial crisis, it dropped about 38%. So that's a big, big drop. So, there are risks involved of, yes, you can lose money, but in all reality, like every single business in the United States is in business to go ahead and make money. And it's very much the same sense in the publicly traded companies. They're there to make money, make their stockholders happy. So it's it's a risk, but also just know that there's some sort of comfort in thinking or knowing that these companies are in it for the long haul. There's also a risk of like emotional investing. So if you're an individual who maybe gambles a little bit, just be very careful, or you come from a family of gamblers, just be very careful in the way that you look at investing. You should look at it as the long term. You shouldn't really look at it as like day trading. So just be very conscientious on that. I'm very much a person that just sticks to the market, to the stock market, excuse me. And I don't really do crypto and things like that. And I don't really jump on the trends. I really just kind of stick to my guns, use my business background from education, but also from my 9 to 5, as well as everything that I've learned that I actually teach people through Adriana Talks Dinero as well. And I hang on for the long haul. So I honestly think that yes, $100 is absolutely worth it. And I think that just starting is the most important part, and building the habits is what is most important. Yes, the risk is real. Yes, you can lose money, especially in the short term, but make sure you diversify your portfolio. And what I mean by that is don't put all of your money in like one company. I remember, oh my gosh, when was it? Like around the pandemic, that all of these finance bros were like, oh, invest in Robinhood or invest in AMC. And I'm like, no, like I'm not just putting all of my eggs in one basket. So if you look at my portfolio, it's pretty diversified in the sense of I have like a little bit in technology. I have some in agriculture. I have some in travel. I have some in consumer goods. I have some in food. I have some international. I have it in energy and all the things. So just really make sure that you're not putting all of your money in one industry, and you're not putting all of your money in one company either. And you also have to be patient. So it is like a long term thing. So it's not a sprint, it is a marathon. And you have to put in your mind that it will be a marathon. It's not just kind of an overnight thing that you're going to get rich. It is going to go ahead and take time. You have to make a strategy, and you have to stick with it. So it's absolutely worth it. And honestly, like I tell everybody, if you want to retire one day, if you want to build wealth, you have to invest. I remember growing up and like my parents telling me, like, you have to save your money, you have to save your money. And I know their intentions were good, but they didn't know any better. And if you just save money nowadays, you're not going to get very far because of inflation rates. So, especially during the pandemic, we would see inflation rates close to the double digits. So, the only way to beat the inflation and beat the worth of a dollar is that you have to invest. So, super important to go ahead and do that. And you also have to make a plan and just do it. Like, I know it can be scary, like, as you start, but you're going to start getting comfortable, and then you're going to start knowing what all of this vocabulary means and things like that. So you can start investing, let's say, like on Fidelity, and let's say that you're like, I just want to go ahead and take advantage of like the top market, like the top 500 companies in, the United States. You'll go ahead and do an index fund that has a slew of different companies underneath it. So something like a VOO, which is VOO as a ticker symbol. You can go ahead and invest in something like that, or you can go ahead and do something that's high dividend. You can go ahead and invest in an index fund that maybe is just specifically for technology or travel, whatever it may be. Go ahead, invest, start playing with it a little bit, start little by little, and just start building the habit. Start building the habit of paying yourself first with investing, of maybe doing a direct deposit from your paycheck to your investing account or having an automatic transfer from your checking account over to an investing account, that's really the most important part out of everything, not so much of, what you're going to pick to go ahead and invest. So, like I said, if you want to go ahead and work together on something like this, I do have availability for one-on-one coaching. And then you can also listen to past episodes of my podcast, and I talk a little bit more about investing as well. So I really appreciate the question, and that it's a really good question to ask. And it's something that I feel like a lot of people have on their mind. And like I said, if you also have a question, go ahead and check out the link in my show notes and go ahead and ask those questions, because every question is super important. And I think that this is a really great way where you guys can get your questions answered on a podcast episode, and you're probably not the only one either. So if you thought this episode was helpful, you can go ahead and share it with whoever needs to hear it. And I will also go ahead and answer this question in Spanish in next week's episode, so you can go ahead and share that one as well. If you're not following us on social, you can go ahead and head over to Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Instagram is where I'm the most active, and you can find me under Adriana Talks Dinero. And of course, I go ahead and do these episodes in English and in Spanish. So keep on submitting these questions, just because I really like to see, what everyone is thinking and what everyone is curious about around money. So make sure you rate, like, and subscribe so we can go ahead and get into the ears of other people that just need to get this information as well. So thank you for listening, and we'll talk next time. Before we wrap up, I want to keep it real with you for a second, the way that I always do. Everything we talked about in today's episode is for educational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, a tax professional, or a CPA. I'm just someone who is passionate about helping our community understand money better. Nothing in this episode should be taken as personalized financial or tax advice. And Adriana Talks Dinero is not responsible for any actions or decisions you take based on what you heard today. Every situation is different, and what works for one person may not work for another. Our community deserves access to this kind of information, but we also deserve professionals who can look at our full picture. So take what you learned today, write down your questions, and bring them to a licensed financial advisor or CPA you can trust. We are here to give you the tools to ask better questions, and the right professional can help you put it all together for your specific situation. You now know enough to have a real conversation, and that is powerful.